So the session on power and strengthening agency and building people power was very insightful for me around the role of civil society organizations, social movements, and philanthropy in general. Amongst these key insights were three that I can quickly highlight. The first one is that philanthropy in itself and people willing to support the work of social movements must disabuse themselves of the notion that they are coming with something to offer the communities, and the communities themselves are a tabula rasa, that they have nothing to offer. One of the things that was critical and emerged from the conversation was an understanding that in the process of development and building social movements for the good of our societies, everyone is bringing something to the table. Those with money are bringing money to the table, but those in communities have the talent to get the work done, are committing time and skills to the process. So at the end of the day, we need to disabuse ourselves of relationships in philanthropy where there is ordination and subordination as a key insight that emerged yesterday. The second thing that emerged from that conversation was the element of trust. That at the end of the day, in order for the work to be done and to be done properly, there is a certain amount of trust that we need to invest in each other. It doesn't matter which side of the philanthropic divide you are coming from. Those who are giving need to be able to trust the people that they are giving to do what needs to be done, and those who are receiving need to be trustworthy. In other words, even though you don't go through elaborate audit processes, there is still a demand around integrity, a demand around accountability, not necessarily to the donor, but to the people that you are actually serving and doing the work on behalf of. So the issue of trust, the issue of mutual accountability, the issue around removing oppressive relationships of ordination and subordination, I think are some of the key important insights that emerged for me. And then lastly, the different ways in which we can be able to give. At the end of the day, you do not need to have $1 million in order for you to be a giver. And one of the things that emerged from the session yesterday was that even the little that you have, if your heart is in the right place, you can be able to contribute it and get something positive going on account of that which you can be able to spend.
Saly, please close out the audience. Okay, the second and last question. If any, how have the conversations that you've heard at the conference influenced your thinking or your understanding on collaborative philanthropy or sustainable outcomes?
So my thinking around collaborative philanthropy and sustainable outcomes was definitely sharpened and enhanced through the conversations that took place at the conference. At the end of the day, one of the things that has really been beautiful about this conference is the fact that in the practice of philanthropy, it can never be something that is delegated to one group or one person. At the end of the day, in order for us to achieve the results that we are trying to pursue at scale, we all need to put our hands to the plow, all hands on deck, so to speak, in order for us to achieve outsized outcomes. The second thing that has shifted slightly in my thinking around philanthropy and sustainable outcomes is basically informed by the fact that philanthropy itself is not a value-free enterprise. It's not a value-free term. Philanthropy is about doing good, and there is no way one can be able to engage in meaningful philanthropy that is sustainable and leads to meaningful results for communities if at the end of the day the underlying values themselves are not good. So even though we can have conversations and debates around the role of ideology, what we believe and what we are pursuing, at the end of the day, if what we are pursuing with our philanthropic efforts does not lead to good, then that in itself is not philanthropy. There is no space or room for us not to pick sides around what is good and what is bad. And perhaps in order for our interventions to be sustainable, we need to be clearer about that particular element, that we are out here to do good, that we are trying to do good for everyone, universally, and that we will do so in respective fashions that do not sponsor authoritarian tendencies, even as we exercise philanthropy ourselves.